Good evening. My name is Clark Sturdivant. It's Friday, January 8th, 2021, and I wanted to take a couple minutes to talk with you about the USD 259 COVID infection metrics and the natural experiment that they've been conducting on public school employees. Really, the underlying question for us is COVID spreading in our schools? USD 259, for better or worse, has started conducting a natural experiment on our staff, and they've done that by using secondary staff as a control group. Secondary staff has remained full remote the entire year, with almost no exposure to students, while our primary staff has been moved from blended in-person model to the full remote model right around the 1st of December. So we have a control group and an experimental group. If you just look at the raw case counts over time, what you'll see is that even here, you can pick up that it's way less safe to be an elementary or a primary school teacher than it is to be a secondary staff member. But when we look at these things, it's often better to think of things as a case rate. Okay? And we use the case rate per 100,000 metric in epidemiology. So I have compiled this figure based on the Sedgwick County weekly COVID report and the district's COVID data. And what you can see here is that at the beginning of the year, when only staff is in person and no students are present, the staff remains just above the community baseline for infections. The minute students return, however, right in early September, you'll notice that educational staff starts having increased case counts across the board. Okay? And it seems like it's worse for the primary teachers. And where you can really start sensing that difference is when the background case rate in the community starts increasing. So when the background case rate in November hit roughly 500 for the community, it was almost 1,500 for our secondary teachers and 3,000 for our elementary or our primary teachers. So our primary teachers, that's a 3%. 3% of our primary teachers were infected with COVID in that week. That's concerning. And that's with students present, face to face. After that, right around Thanksgiving break, okay, we went on Thanksgiving break. Nobody was seeing students face to face. And then the district wisely made the decision to move everybody to the full remote model because of the levels of infection in the community. The minute they did this, you can see the case rate difference between primary and secondary start to close and start to crash. Okay, and the official decision went down for December 2nd. By the next week, they're virtually indistinguishable, the case rates are. Okay, primary staff has already worked their way back down to the background of the secondary staff here. Okay, and you can see teachers are still getting it way more often than community members, but the difference between the people who are in person and the people who are remote, the story is here. When the students were back face to face, staff members were getting it at almost twice the rate. For the staff members who didn't experience the face to face, their rate was much lower. There's your answer. It's spreading when we have students in our schools. And that's with only elementary students, not secondary students, who are more likely to spread it. Lastly, let's talk about community support. There are 0 ICU beds available, according to Sedgwick County. This means if instructional staff were to become sick, there's no place for us to go. There are no ICU beds for us. We will not have the medical care needed. The community is in crisis. We do not need to be adding to the problem. Lastly, and finally, we've reached the level of infection amongst our instructional staff that we can expect the first instructional staff death from COVID to come relatively soon, just based on the statistics. So we should be very, very careful in how cavalier we are with the lives and the safety of our staff and our students.